welcome to Book Bites. Today we are picnicking with some of our newest adult books. So we're going to open up our picnic basket and see what's inside.
Great. So the first book we have today is called The Janes by Louisa Luna. And in this book, on the outskirts of San Diego, two unidentified Latina bodies are discovered. They have no names, no IDs. So bounty hunters Alice Vega and Max Kaplan are called in to identify the bodies before anyone else is killed. They think it might be part of a bigger sex trafficking ring. This is a high-stakes thriller which touches on a lot of current issues, and Booklist calls Alice Vega the female Jack Reacher. So I can't wait to read this book.
That sounds good.
If you like Lee Child, you should definitely go put a hold on this one.
Okay, and now I have a nonfiction pick. It's called Generation Friends, an inside look at the show that defined a television era by Saul Austerlitz. And so if you love the show Friends, this is everything you could ever want to know about it. The author interviewed like all the producers and people who worked on the set, anyone connected with the show in any way, and got a bunch of stories about how they developed Friends, why they developed it, some of the original ideas of the show. They talk about how originally they wanted Monica and Joey to be a thing. And so if you really love Friends and you've watched a lot of it, this will give you all kinds of insider information about each episode and talk about all the stars that are in it too. And then there's a nice little section near the back with some pictures from the set.
So our next book that we're talking about today is a Reese Witherspoon pick from earlier in 2020. And it's kind of its own genre. It's called The Scent Keeper by Erica Bauermeister. And in it, Emmeline lives on a remote island with her father, and he teaches her all about the natural world through her sense of smell. But he refuses to teach her about these mysterious glass bottles full of smells that are all over their cabin. They each have a unique scent. When she has to leave the cabin, Emmeline brings her unique way of looking at the world by using her nose. And she brings that out into the world with her. This book is kind of different. There's a lot of themes of memory and knowing your parents. But the reason I picked it is because a lot of people have kind of compared it to Where the Crawdads Sing, which we know was really popular last year. Just in talking about the natural world and kind of a quirky young woman growing up and finding her place in the world. So this is The Scent Keeper.
And the next nonfiction pick I have is The Impossible First by Colin O'Brady. And Colin is one of those guys that loves adventure, and he's always going out trying to be the first to do something or to break world records. When he was 22 years old, he was in an accident. He was burned on over 25% of his body, and most of it was his leg, so the doctors weren't sure if he'd ever walk again. But he did, and as you can kind of see from the front cover, he walked all the way across Antarctica, and he did this at the same time a guy from Britain was trying to do it as well. And so it was sort of like a race for him to make it all the way across. So this is his journey. He took about 2 months, and so he kept a journal, and he used that journal to help him write the book. And then this also has some pictures of him growing up. You can see where he's got his love of adventure from. Here he is, he's proposing to his wife on the top of a really tall mountain.
I love adventure stories.
Really
that
good
sounds really
adventure
good.
story.
Survival stories.
Yes.
So our next fiction pick is called Lean on Me. This is a romance, and in it, Tabitha Nicely is overwhelmed. She's caring for her aunt with dementia, and her neighbor, Marcus Whittington, accuses her of elder abuse. So that obviously doesn't get them off to a good start. But as Marcus gets to know his neighbors more and gets to know Aunt Tweet beyond the dementia diagnosis, he finds out she's a really cool older lady, and he becomes more willing to share Tabitha's burdens. A little bit of sweet, a little bit of serious, kind of a romance, but it's not super fluffy. Could be a good summer read to take with you on your vacation. It's called Lean on Me by Pat Simmons.
And then we have Canyon Dreams, Basketball Season on the Navajo Nation by Michael Powell. Michael Powell is a really prolific sports writer. You might have heard of him before. And in this book, he spent a season watching this team from the Navajo Reservation. It's from Chinle High School. It's right in the middle of the reservation, and it's a really popular basketball team, even though there's like 3,000 people maybe in the town. Their gym holds at least twice as much as that because so many people from the res come to watch this team play. And they play a style of basketball that's referred to as res ball, which is a lot faster paced than your normal basketball game. Not as much strategy, more like just go, 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 get the ball down the court. And so this follows their team as they're trying to win the state championship, playing against all these bigger teams from, like Phoenix and the bigger cities in Arizona. And he talks about the coach and gives the coach's background, talks about each of the different members of the team and the hardship they've faced. And like some of them have to wake up really early in the morning just to get water, drive down to the well and like fill up these big containers so they have water for their animals and stuff like that. It's a really interesting look about how people live on reservations and why this basketball team is so important to them. And there's also a Netflix documentary that I've watched that follows the same basketball team, I think during that same season even. So definitely a good one if you like sports documentaries.
Definitely want to read that one too, for sure. So our last item in our picnic basket today is an audiobook for those of you who like audiobooks. This is a new story collection by Zora Neale Hurston. You may have heard of her before, but this book is called Hitting a Straight Lick with a Crooked Stick, and it includes 8 lost Harlem stories. They were found in forgotten magazines and archives, which is super cool. I love when they find lost stuff by an author that's really famous. These stories are mostly about Black life in the city in the mid-20th century. The city would be New York in Harlem. And they're fairly different from her rural fiction that many are familiar with. And a lot of them are based in her own life. She was actually the only Black student at Barnard in 1925 when she went, so she has a really unique experience. And so her stories are really authentic in that. It's read by Angenoa Ellis. She's an actress who's been in several recent TV shows, including Quantico and NCIS LA. So it should be a good audio experience too to pick this one up.
I like that title, Hitting a Straight Lick with a Crooked Stick.
With a crooked stick, yeah. I don't know where it came from. It's probably from one of the stories, so
Yeah.
we'll have to listen to this and see what we find out. So thanks for joining us today for Book Bike.
Thanks, we'll see you again soon.
Bye.